All right, so I've noticed a pattern. Every time one of our players is a guest on the Manning's Monday Night Football show, we have a bad game. Last time Gronk came out and was bragging about not watching film, and he came out against the Rams looking like he should have been watching film. Last week I heard Brady was on there, and Brady had a bad game this time around. No more guests on the Manning show. Like, they got some kind of bad juju going on with them. What is up, everybody? My name is Advance, and this is Advanced Sports Talk. So, it's time to break down these Sunday night games. Of course, starting with my Buccaneers. Hadn't had the best game, and yeah, man, it's ridiculous. So, this game was thoroughly dominated by the Saints, or at least in the first half. First half was thoroughly dominated by the Saints until we was able to come back in the second half. Scored 2 touchdowns back to back. The first one to Gio Bernard and the second one to Mike Evans, who was blanketed by the Saints, by the Saints office, by the Saints secondary. So, like with him and Marshawn Lattimore, them two don't like each other. Ironically, with a situation involving Jameis. So, speaking of Jameis, with this was a very anticipated game because coming into the season, everybody was so focused on Tom Brady going back to Foxborough that they wasn't really thinking about Jameis Winston coming back to Tampa. That's the way that it would have been if he hadn't gotten hurt in the first half. And man, that was bad though, because the anticipation all throughout the week, everybody was pretty much saying, all right, this is Jameis' chance. Jameis is going to strut his stuff. Jameis is going to show the Buccaneers what they missed out on. And you know what? For the most part, I would have hoped that, he would have did that. And it's not just because I have him on fantasy. I didn't even start him this week. But, the fact that I like to see former Bucks do good, And maybe I was hoping that he might have learned his lesson and maybe would find his way back to Tampa eventually. Because, that last year of his contract, we can kind of say that he was, he kind of caught a little bit of bad luck learning a brand new system. In a system where your first year in the system, you're going to have record high interceptions, But yeah, unfortunately for Jameis, the bad always outweighs the good. He was the first quarterback in Buccaneer history to throw for 5,000 yards. He did throw 33 touchdowns in 2019, second only to Lamar Jackson. Unfortunately, those 30 interceptions really put a black smudge on that whole thing, especially considering the fact that a lot of those interceptions led to points that caused us to lose games. So you could say if he would have cut those interceptions in half, we would have made the playoffs. Shit, Tom Brady had half of those interceptions last year and we went to the Super Bowl. Shit, 10 of those was only because, he was trying the no risk it, no biscuit offense in the first quarter of the season, first 4 games, and Tom Brady was like, look, this shit ain't gonna work. But in any case, so hard fought by the Buccaneers in the second half, but unfortunately a very costly pick 6 ended up sealing the game for us. Saints ended up winning 36-27. And hold up, I need to give this a special recommendation. So Tom Brady threw a 50-yard touchdown pass at the start of the fourth quarter. Well, midway through the fourth quarter. I'm trying to figure out who the hell this guy is. Cyril Grayson. And look, the route that this man ran, he was all alone, literally. He was literally able to walk into the end zone. Oh man, so I need to go through my rosters more, but yeah, this kid had a very impressive route that he ran. I hope to see more of him later in the season. Antonio Brown was still out for ankle injury. I think Scotty Miller's fully recovered after this bye week, but we'll see. I mean, but as for the formula for the Bucs right now, it was a good game. It was a good team to lose to. It was a division rival. Everybody is saying, "Oh, so we can't beat backup quarterbacks." We've never been able to beat backup quarterbacks. That's backup quarterbacks is our kryptonite. Shit, I'm surprised we was able to pull one on Taylor Heineke in the playoffs. I guess it's because it's the playoffs, and Tampa Bay called in a lot of mercs. Moving on. Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo ended up winning 11-26. Yeah, Tua Tagovailoa hooking up with Devontae Parker, 8 receptions out of 11 targets for 85 yards. Cole Beasley, 10 out of 13 receptions for 110 yards. All right, so news came out that they was Dolphins was thinking about trading for Deshaun Watson. And it's kind of understandable because, Tua can't stay healthy for some reason. But at the same time, like, if you do that, you don't want to mess up the synergy, because him and Waddle, got some synergy. And, plus Jacoby was looking good during those games that Tua was out. But, he's back now. And I get it. If you got a chance to get Deshaun Watson, you get him. Granted, he's not even really doing nothing right now, but Miami doesn't have the capital to secure him. And plus, on top of that, even if you do give up said capital, what does his situation look like? Because the league hasn't come out and said whether or not they were going to punish him yet, or even if we don't even know what the civil suits look like. So there was a couple of teams that was looking at him. I think Carolina was one of them. I don't want to misquote anything, but I definitely know Carolina and Miami was interested. Carolina backed out, and I think Miami's going to end up sticking with Tua for the rest of the season, seeing how that experiment worked. Yeah, so it's safe to say that the Texans did say that they were prepared to keep him past the deadline. We'll see what happens. But right now, Deshaun Watson is just working out and collecting a paycheck. Next, speaking of Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons in a surprisingly low-scoring game. I thought the Falcons would have blown them out, but I guess the Panthers found that defense again. So the Panthers beat the Falcons 19-13. Next, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns in another surprisingly low-scoring game. Steelers ended up beating the Browns 15-10. Yeah, Najee Harris, 26 carries for 91 yards and 1 touchdown. It's not bad. Nick Chubb was back off of injured reserve. 16 carries for 61 yards. 1-6-6-1. Hey. Not a lot of passing, doesn't look like. Ben had 266 yards passing. Baker had 225. So, yeah, there was not a lot. It might have been a strong defensive game, it looks like. So, yeah, Steelers won 15-10. Next, Cincinnati Bengals versus the New York Jets. And look, I asked a question last week, and I said, who the hell is Mike White? So I'm gonna tell you who Mike White is. Mike White is the first quarterback in New York Jets history to throw for 400 yards plus. Let's see, he went to Western Kentucky. He's 26 years old. Judging by his age, this is probably his third or fourth year in the league, maybe. He was drafted in the 5th round by the Cowboys in 2018. So yeah, this is his fourth year. Yeah. Look, Mike White might just get that job. So 37 for 45 for 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 2 interceptions. Joe Burrow was 21 for 34, 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. So yeah, this was a very high octane game, and the Jets ended up beating the Bengals 34-31. Now, just like how I said before in week 1, I said there are necessarily no winning. There are no whipping boys anymore. Normally you would have a game where it's like, all right, that's a guaranteed win. There are no more guaranteed wins. Every team has a squad. Every team has a squad that under the right conditions, they can win. Normally there were teams where, that would come up on your schedule and be like, oh yeah, that's a guaranteed win. No, gone are those days. There are challenging games, and then there are games that you could win. What's the difference? Yeah, a winnable game is a game that you could win. However, that team ain't no slouch, and if you're not careful, you can very well lose. So, yeah, your Bengals, your Jets, your Jaguars, Lions, yeah, none of those, even though those teams have losing records, there is no guarantee that you're going to beat them, because yeah, you could very well get caught slipping and lose. But yeah, the Bengals, they started their climb last year. The thing is that Joe Burrow has to stay healthy. If Joe Burrow goes down goes the Bengals. But in any case, moving on. Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts. Looks like there's another 34-31 game. Titans ended up getting the victory 34-31 in final overtime. Looking like Carson Wentz is finally finding his rhythm in his offense. It was a bit shaky starting out, but yeah, he's actually looking pretty good. And and Eagles fans are hoping that they that he stays healthy throughout the majority of the season, and that they make the playoffs. So as per their deal, if Carson Wentz plays through 70 to 75% of the season, they get a first round pick. Or it's like if they make the playoffs, if the Colts make the playoffs and he plays that majority of the season, then they get a first round pick. So kudos to Wentz. I'm glad he's doing well. Ryan Tannehill, 23 for 33 for 265 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow, that's crazy. Both quarterbacks have identical quarterback play. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Oh, man. But Tennessee has darker days on the horizon because Derrick Henry is out. I believe Julio was hurt this week, but A.J. Brown held it down for 10 receptions, 10 receptions out of 11 targets for 155 yards. So hopefully, they can, whoever Derrick Henry's backup is can step it up and provide some type of rushing threat. Otherwise, the Titans is gonna have some difficulty struggling. Now, granted, they have a very successful passing game, but that's only because they had the threat of that big monster in the backfield. So we're gonna see what happens. Next, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. And man, the Eagles showed out in a good way. stomped the Lions 44-6. Mostly rushing yards, though. So the one thing that's been going on with Eagles, and the Philly fans have been yelling it, and this has been echoing all throughout the streets of Philly: run the ball. And man, did they run the ball. Jalen Hurts, 7 carries for 71 yards. Boston Scott, 12 carries for 60 yards. Jordan Howard, 12 carries for 57 yards. Oh man, Kenneth Gainwell, 13 carries for 27 yards. And even Jalen Reagor with 2 rushes for 21 yards. So man, like, look, that's what happens when you run the ball. In fact, their leading receiver was Dallas Goedert. He had 6 receptions for 72 yards. The next highest up was Quez Watkins, 2 receptions for 18 yards. So when you have a significant running attack, that opens up those passing lanes. So, but yeah, like they had damn near 200. Hold up, I got to go back into it. 70, 60. Yeah, they had like 200 yards rushing. And literally steamrolled and ran over the Lions 44-6. Next, San Francisco 49ers versus the Chicago Bears. And man, the performance that Justin Fields put up in this game was spectacular. He took that beating that the Bucs put on him last week, and he turned that into fire. He was like, hey man, I faced the Super Bowl caliber defense, and I came out okay. So when you look at that, 49ers ain't so bad. But unfortunately, Jimmy G lit them up for 322 yards, and they ended up getting the victory 33-22. 49ers won 33-22. Next, LA Rams versus the Houston Texans. And man, I'm gonna talk about the Rams in another video, because they made a move, or I don't know who made the move, and they were just the recipients of it. But I'm gonna get into that later. So Rams ended up beating the Texans 38-22. Stafford, 21 for 32 for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. Davis Mills getting the hang of it yet again. He might not be all right this year, but he'll be all right next year. 29 out of 30, 29 for 38 for 310 yards and 2 touchdowns. Every week he gets a little bit more impressive. So, man, Rams ended up beating the Texans 38-22. Next, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Seattle Seahawks. And Geno looked all right. Trevor Lawrence hanging in there, 238 yards passing, 1 touchdown, which was thrown to Jamal Agnew. Geno Smith, 20 for 24 for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seahawks beat the Jaguars 31. Next, New England Patriots versus the LA Chargers. This was another exciting game. Patriots ended up winning 27-24. This was more of a once again more of a defensive style game. Both quarterbacks were slinging it, but it looks like the majority of the Patriots scoring came between rushing touchdowns and field goals, and 1 pick six near the end of the game, or in the fourth quarter rather. So yeah, man, Justin Herbert, 18 for 35, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mac Jones, 18 for 35, 218 yards and no passing touchdowns. So like, yeah, Patriots like ran up and down the field. The Patriots beat the Chargers 27-24. Next, the team formerly known as the Washington Redskins versus the Denver Broncos. And this game confused me thoroughly. Not because of the actual gameplay, but because when I was at the bar, this was the only game that had audio on, even though I was watching all the other ones. And every time I kept hearing the announcers getting excited, and they was like, Heineke, Heineke. And I'm like, hold up, what's going on? Like, and I'm turning around. I'm like, all right, I'm hearing all these big plays, but every time I look at the TV, the score is still 10-10. So I'm like, all right, come on, what's going on here? Like, but yeah, Broncos got a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Melvin Gordon with a 7-yard rushing touchdown that sealed the deal. Broncos beat Washington 17-10. All right, so that wraps up the Sunday afternoon games. I'll be back later with the primetime games. My name is Advance. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on everything. If you enjoy rap music, in the description there will be another YouTube channel. Bama Slim Official dropped his Halloween themed mixtape. Head over there, show him some love. If not, if you don't like rap music, okay, that's fine. Okay, you're here for me. I appreciate you. All right, so I'm out.